Yeah, the recording started. I bring back word to Sonia to tell us a little bit like why we are here, what's the context, just to remind us about the space where we are now.
Good morning, everybody. Also from my side, it's very good to see all of you here. Before we started, we had a little guess of how many of you were joining us today. And I said, maybe we managed to have over 100. So for the moment, we're 105 altogether. So let's see. I was not that far wrong. Yes, it's a little bit like 2 years ago when we also had this series of 5 webinars at the time. Even though we're now 2 years later, and I think also the European Academy on Youth Work has moved a bit forward in the past 2 years. We're now in the process of the 3rd edition. We're calling this the 3rd edition because we're having these cycles. Every cycle builds around one bigger event that is happening in the spring. So every 2 years, as Darko already mentioned, the 3rd one is coming up now in May. And we decided not to just have a residential event, but to also have an online or virtual dimension of the Academy. And this is this first webinar is a part of it. This third Academy on Youth Work focuses on exploring emerging trends and developments and their impact on youth work. So that means the main questions or bigger questions that we're exploring, generally speaking, in this whole cycle of the Academy are questions like, first of all, what are emerging trends and developments that we are seeing? And how are they relevant for youth work? And what will youth work look like in the future? How can we get ready for thinking about the future or for thinking about possible futures? And last but not least, how can we act or plan or envision for a future of youth work that at the end of the day, we do not know? So these are really big questions and that we would like to discuss with the various stakeholders involved in the youth work field and in fields that are of importance for youth work. So this is really a first moment where we're looking, taking a first glimpse at some of these questions by looking at the outcomes of this research that we have been doing over the past months. That has started to collect data about what these bigger trends and developments that are emerging and how they might be relevant and how they might influence youth work and how we can imagine possible scenarios or potential scenarios of youth work in the future. We are following up from this webinar with a second one in next month, which looks more at how we are prepared actually and how we are personally dealing with futures. And I think the second question is one which is, for me, one of the most exciting ones in this whole project, because of course we are trying to predict a little bit what might happen in the future, knowing that we cannot predict the future, obviously. And at the same time, this makes us, well, for me at least, this whole project has made me a lot more conscious, consciously taking note of what is happening around us and of these kinds of signals we might see around us of where our society and where youth work is going and moving towards. I guess as we all know, looking at these bigger developments that we see happening around us can be quite emotional and can trigger all kinds of reactions in us. Are we happy about what we see? Do we feel it's a threat? Do we feel it's a challenge? Do we feel concerned by it? So I think this it asks, in a way, it asks us to get emotionally involved, and it asks us in some way to react to what we are seeing. And I think this whole process is what it's very, very engaging, and asking us really to take note of where youth work is at the moment, where it is going, and how we can see what is happening, what might be happening and coming towards us in the future. And last but not least, how we can engage with it, or how we should engage with it today. So having said this, I am handing over to the people that will actually lead this webinar today. I think first of all, I could give the floor back to Darko, who will let us know what comes next, or to Anita, actually. Good. Thank you.
It's me. Thank you so much, Sonia. Thank you. Well, following up on what Sonia just introduced us to, we wanted to suggest an exercise, very simple one, to get everybody involved. I would ask us to be on gallery view. So Sabrina, if you can do that favor, because we will need to kind of look at each other a little bit. So if you can turn on your camera, please do so. And look around you and find a daily object. It could be, for example, a pen. Could be a pen, it can be your phone, it can be anything you have nearby you. If you have something, you can consider your computer if you have nothing else, or whatever device you're using to join, but it can be a spoon, it can be anything, a daily object. Just choose one and write it in the chat, so we see a list of objects coming up on the chat, but also show it in the screen, so we can see, like, okay, I see markers, plenty of pens and markers, a little beanie, cool, some kind of a recharger, a battery, a cup, what is that, Anna? That is a tube of something, cream or something?
Yeah, it's hand cream. Very
good. Hand cream, it's perfect. All right, what else? We have a little journal. We have, what is that, Dominika? What do you have in your hand?
It's chapstick.
Chapstick, very good. And we have a tea bag, very good, Julie, and earphones, and wow, a lot of stuff. A book, maybe a thermos, water. All right, a lot of things. What is that, Jarno? I don't see. Is that the mic? It's a spoon. It's a spoon. All right, very cool. Okay, we have all kinds of stuff, and on the chat we can see a lot of them. Just gonna cancel something here. Post-it notes in shape of love hearts. Oh, this is how you know you are in a youth work community. Somebody has post-it notes that's in the shape of a heart. That's perfect. There you go. All right, that's step one, already done. Step two of the exercise. And here we invite you to use a bit your imagination. Now, try to travel into a future. Try to travel 10 years into the future. Okay, and now imagine that the same object now has a new feature. It has something on it that is different that makes it still relevant in 10 years. So you cannot say, well, it's a pen. There won't be any pens in 10 years because they're going to be extinct. That's against the rules. The rule is the object will exist, but now it will have a new feature. For example, I can say this pen will have a voice activation system. And I can say, pen, write this down for me, and it will write. So any feature can be technological, can be physical, can be attached, can be whatever you want, but it makes this object relevant in 10 years, all right? And share it with all of us in the chat. I'm gonna give everyone a minute for that. Use your imagination, and write also the object. So say, the object, da-da-da, will have this. Otherwise, we don't know what the feature is attached to. So there is a coffee cup that will refill automatically when instructed so. That's amazing. Eco-friendly glue. We have an AI assistant hat that kind of tells you what other clothes match with the hat. Super useful. Can we have that last year, please? I really need that. A self-heating coffee mug. Ooh, the salt shaker is attached to personal salt intake. and it will dispense only the amount that you deserve, that you can deal with. Slightly depressive innovation, but probably needed. A nappy that can clean itself, a hand cream with vitamin C that you can also eat when you have a cold. Perfect. That's a really good one. Rosary beads that will have Bluetooth. Wow, that counts the tours. The marker will have ink, but also connect to the iPad. So many good ideas. Go through the ideas and read a few. They're very, very interesting. We have a chili container that prevents hate. Very useful. A pen that only writes kind and encouraging sentences. We have poetic innovations as well. A phone that will automatically reject audio message. I veto that. I'm the audio person. Okay, what else? Wow, a cup that will make all kinds of different drinks. A card that will be self-talking and say, I told you so. Very good. We have very good ideas here. All our creativity is flowing here. Thank you. Thank you. The reason why we asked you to do this slight small exercise is just to get us in the right mindset of forward-looking. And how inspiring is it that so quickly, with a bit of imagination, a bit of foresight, we immediately can jump into the future, right? With a bit of humor sometimes. And it's very interesting because, for example, a lot of us are already looking into trends. A lot of these ideas are based on things we see in the present. So AI, we know AI is here and it's probably going to stay. It's not going to disappear so fast. Some things that link technology and biology. We know that that's a big trend, right? So we know that personalized items like a cup, like a pen, tend to get more options, more variables that people can personalize their drinks, their writings, their whatever. So these are all trends, and very quickly we can spot them and introduce them into our exercise of imagination. So these are skills that are super important in terms of future literacy, of trying to have this mindset where we consider the future when we look at the present. That doesn't mean we don't look at the past. That doesn't mean we forget our lessons. It just means that we also consider the future. And these skills are important for us and are important for young people, because obviously they can then be more proactive in creating their futures. So in the event we're going to have in May, we're going to nurture this mindset a lot. Here we are just kind of playing a little bit with it. So thank you for sharing these ideas and for this little interactive start. I'm going to pass the words to the research team. The research is called Futures of Youth Work, and I'll let them tell us about their mindset and their goals when they started this research. All right, so we're going to go for this small presentation now about how comes this research comes, what is the background, what were the process. So a first part of the preparation, then down the line in the webinar, we will have a second part of a presentation about this research. Okay, so this is just an introduction, then we will go and talk a little bit about it, and then we will have a second part of the presentation. All right, everybody ready? Alex, I'll give you the screen.
Thank you, Anita. This was a lovely and fun little exercise. I'm just gonna quickly share my screen now and talk a little bit about the background of this project and everything that we've done so far, so that you can get a bit more of an idea of what we've been doing and how we've been doing it. All right. Hope my presentation is visible now. So, to tell you a little bit more about the project background, the whole project comes from the kind of recognition that youth work is a dynamic and evolving field that is shaped by and also responds to different societal and technological as well as environmental forces. I think we can all speak from our experience that recent years really have underscored the importance of foresight and also dangers of lack of foresight, and the ways that wisely informed practice and policy can really make a big difference when we grapple with big societal challenges that include climate change, mental well-being, or issues such as increasing social polarization. These are issues that demand innovative solutions and require us to engage with them head on. Moreover, while also debates about future often focus on emerging technologies, of course, when we think about the future, AI often comes to mind, and different technological developments. We also recognize that technology alone is not the only way to solve complicated challenges. People-driven innovation is equally important, and therefore inclusion of diverse perspectives, youth perspectives plays a vital role in creating shared value and empowering future communities in order to be able to kind of co-create solutions that will meet the needs of the future. So this is the context. Apologies, I've got a bit of a cold, so I hope I don't lose my voice. This is the context in which the Futures of Youth Work projects is exploring the possible futures of youth work. We are using what is called foresight methodologies that originate from the field of future study. And for these methodologies, they help us to identify signals, trends, and drivers that have the potential of shaping the future landscape of youth work, which then enables us to develop strategic insight and make, hopefully, more informed decisions to ensure the continued impact of youth work in decades to come. Okay, I will now move on to tell you a little bit about what this methodology entails. It's very interesting type of research. We employed a participatory approach that involved a diverse range of stakeholders throughout this process. And I'm just listing on the slide here a few of the steps. I'll quickly talk you through them, and then we'll go in a bit more detail in what each of them entailed in this project. But one thing to remember, and I think you might have already realized that from the exercise that Anita walked us through just now, that what is really important throughout this process is, and this is something that we also emphasize to the participants, is adopting an open and curious mindset. Future thinking is an inherently creative pursuit, and we have to kind of allow ourselves to go sometimes beyond the most probable futures to explore different possibilities. So with that in mind, we started off the research process with what is called horizon scanning. It's a systematic approach to of gathering emerging trends and signals from various sources, and we conducted that from September to October 2023. Participants, who are called signal spotters, we're submitting scans, which I will talk you through a little bit what that means in a moment as well, that cover insights from various fields such as news, research, culture, personal observations, and more. We also conducted some interviews with experts from November to December 2023, where we went on to gather more insights about societal, environmental, technological, and workplace trends shaping youth work. And we also had a resonance workshop in February where participants explored the themes and connections emerging from the horizon scanning process. And we started to think about the developing scenarios and possible implications for the future of youth work. I know it might sound fairly complicated and there's a lot of jargon in this methodology, but I'm hoping through this presentation, I will be able to tell you a little bit more about it, and hopefully everything will become clear. One thing to note is that to structure our exploration of the future of youth work, we use as a lens the kind of idea of 3 future horizons. So I presented here a nice kind of graphic that maps relevance over time of different possible issues. And as you can see, Horizon 1 is represents kind of the current situation and the very near future, where many of the drivers, so the things that would be driving the future trends are already in place. And even if we haven't fully understood their implications just yet. So these are the immediate challenges and issues that we are grappling with today, that are peaking or will peak very soon in their relevance and importance. And it's possible that in the longer term, their relevance will gradually wane, as we can see on the graphic. Horizon 2, so the blue line, represents the medium-term future, where emerging trends are beginning to take shape, although their exact form and impact is not clear yet. So we can already kind of begin to closely monitor these factors, try to understand their potential outcomes, and adapt strategies accordingly. However, they're not as visible as things that are on Horizon 1. So they're a bit more difficult to maybe understand the full implications of. Horizon 3 is the long-term future, which kind of signifies the new challenges and strategic issues that will arrive in the long term. Grasping the specificities of issues that will come up on this horizon is very difficult because we are venturing in quite an uncharted territory. So these issues, it might be quite difficult to make sense of them because the signals informing this future are very weak, as we can see on the graph in the kind of current moment, the lens of now. We don't necessarily recognize their importance yet. But it's a useful conceptualization as we went into the horizon scanning process, that it's really important to kind of keep your mind open even to things that don't necessarily seem so relevant or important now, but you can maybe sense some potential, because that will really help us to tap into these further horizons, like Horizon 2 and 3. Of course, not everything that we are able to sense will come to fruition, but only through paying attention to these weak signals, we can try to tap into this medium and long-term future. So to give you a bit more details of what the horizon scanning process entailed, we conducted that, as I said, from September until end of October 2023, and our signal spotters, as we call them, engaged in horizon scanning to try to identify these signals, trends, and drivers that could impact the future of youth work. We asked them to monitor advancements in technology, shifts in societal attitudes, or human ecology, policy developments, and innovative practices that they come across. They were encouraged to observe and take note of insights from various sources, including news, advertisements, even casual conversations, as signals could really emerge from unexpected sources, as the kind of idea of the three horizons also showed us. It's also important to think that a signal coming from one area or domain could have an impact on a completely different area of the domain in the future. So we really advised the signal spotters to maintain an open and curious mindset, and we encourage them to embrace that creativity and try to think beyond what is the most probable future. In order to prepare them for this process, we held an onboarding session in early September. And the session provided a bit of an introduction to the project background, its objectives, and an overview of the methodology. We had discussions about the role of signal spotters, and we had some also interactive exercises to help them adopt the necessary mindsets. Then we also presented the guidelines for submitting their signals, which was facilitated through an online form. Participants were asked to systematically record their insights as they go about their daily life, and then submit them through the form, where they could include the title of their insights, a written description of what the insight is about, as well as the source, kind of what sparked that insight. And we encourage them to submit around 1 to 2 scans per week to maintain momentum throughout this exercise. To facilitate communication, because these were people from many different countries spread across Europe, and of course, we haven't yet met in person. So to facilitate getting to know each other and create a bit of a collaborative space, we also had an online community on Discord that was set up to let participants introduce themselves to each other, have some discussions, share reflections, questions about the process, and really anything interesting related to the process itself. Kind of creating just a virtual meeting place for everybody. So at the end of this process, we gathered 159 scans, which included a range of insights from a variety of sources, like news, research, culture, government legislation, but also dinner time conversations and personal observations from signal spotters' daily lives. In addition to the horizon scan, other crucial components of the methodology involved engaging subject matter experts and stakeholders directly. So in order to do that, we conducted a series of interviews to get a bit more rich insights on societal, environmental, and technological trends that are shaping the future of youth work. And these interviews provided really valuable perspectives from thought leaders and pioneering practitioners in related fields that can hopefully help us make a bit of sense from the insights that we've been gathering, and add a bit more rich and different perspective to the process. And excuse me, in February we held an immersive resonance workshop, which was an in-person workshop bringing together some of the horizon scanning participants to explore some of the emerging themes and connections that were already showing up in the scans that they submitted. So through creative activities and facilitated discussion, this session was aimed at further developing future scenarios and starting to already try to unpack the potential implications for the future of youth work. So in order to get from these scans, which sometimes are short, some people wrote a bit more, a lot of them are just kind of signals that we as a research team still have to make sense of, which was certainly aided by the other parts of the research process, but we had to start making sense of them, and we had 159 scans submitted. We had to think about their implications, their potential, as well as possible recurring themes and issues that kept on showing up throughout different scans that the signal spotters submitted. So in order to do that, our research team held a meeting in December to try to map the submitted scans and explore the relationships between emergent themes. And I'll just show you a little bit of what we did. So through this kind of mind mapping process, we went through all of the scans one by one, trying to kind of see whether there are different themes or domains that they fit into, and also explore the connections between them, because a lot of these scans have implications in more than one domain. And as we said, the scans included perspectives from a variety of sources, and exploring them was a pretty long and in-depth process to fully understand the themes and connections between them. So this presents a bit of a summary of what we came up in this process, which, as you can see, there are a lot of big themes that you probably recognize and already might emerge as important. And you can also see this big web of connections between them, which really represents how it's really difficult to kind of separate these individual domains, because everything in a lot of ways is connected. And as I said, different signals have I like it to have implications in different areas and domains. So this many signals had connections to more than one topic or a kind of theme. Of course, technology came up as a very big domain, as you can imagine, but a little bit more will be explored about that in the second half of the presentation given by Özgehan in the second part of this meeting today. So I'm not going to go too much in depth into it now. But one thing that we noticed, that even though, for example, technology had a lot of signals related to, we had a lot of signals related to technology, but pretty much all of them had implications in other areas. So in a way, technology in itself maybe wasn't as much as a future, let's say, trend itself, or although certainly it's a driver of many different changes that will be happening in other areas that will be influencing youth work. So coming back to how we come from this complicated web of meanings and scenarios and possible futures, we are still going through this process and further developing and refining the trends that are emerging and the scenarios based on the signals, the interviews, and the resonance workshop, as well as trying to really think about what implications for youth work they have. So just, I guess I'm out of time now. I just wanted to say for the couple of final words that from the outset, the vision of this study is rooted in this inclusive and participatory research. And, you know, it was really important to recognize the inherent creativity of futures thinking, and that this creativity and open-mindedness is really important in prioritizing long-term thinking in general, that hopefully can provide valuable insights into how we can create more sustainable future for young people. Yeah, thank you so much for your attention. I know we're going to have a bit of a reflection now to explore your impressions. And if you have any comments or questions, I'm also here and happy to answer. Thank you very much. I think handing it over to Darko now.
Thanks a lot, Alex, for this brief introduction. We are looking forward to the second part. We'll go a little bit deeper. So keep your questions for Alex after the second part of the presentation. What we've noticed so far in this process, and particularly in the resonance workshop in February, that future can be a very emotional topic. That actually we relate differently. It creates immediately the challenge to the sense of agency that we have in relation to future. So are we co-creators? Are we influencers? Or are we just meeting the future? So we would like to have you a 10 minutes brief temperature check in the breakout rooms, just with a simple question: what's your first reactions about looking at the futures of youth work? How do you feel about it? Not necessarily how do you feel about methodology, but how do you see about this attempt to look at the future of youth work towards 2050? So Sabrina is posting the link in the chat when you have this question in Padlet. So please share a couple of your reflections or thoughts. There will be a very and to share with us what's the current state of findings, especially after the resonance workshop in February. So where might be the future trends leading? Where are we in terms of possible scenarios? And similar questions that you also asked in Padlet. So welcome, Ozge, on the screen.
Hello, this is me. As you can see, I'm in our research lab, constantly analyzing, testing, and finding. We are in a very crucial stage. We are finalizing our report, and I'm very happy to share some of our findings and briefly introduce the trends to all the participants here. But I hope I don't disappoint you, because one thing we realized in this research was how much people are curious about learning the future. We should have known better, considering whole culture of different methods of trying to see the future. Some societies, cultures looked at the stars. Some societies, cultures like mine look at the coffee. Some places they read the tea leaves. So there is a constant demand to see the future. I'm not a fortune teller. storyteller. Our team is not psychics, which will bring you messages from future. What we did practically was, as Alex nicely summarized, we collected the signals from experts, we put them together, we massage them, and we keep playing with them and try to see what kind of possible scenarios we have and what does it mean for youth work in 2050. The resonance workshop was extremely useful. I see some people who were there are also here. We thank the people participating, because in the resonance workshop, what we did was actually to resonate our potential scenarios to see what signal spotters and experts have to say about them, what is their reaction, initial reaction, and we had a very fruitful discussion. It helped us to tweak and twist and revise some of our scenarios, but above all, it helped us to upgrade and improve our way of thinking. Now, very quickly on one message from the resonance workshop, and I'll walk backwards, sorry, I'm opening my files now. You might have noticed that when we're talking, we keep saying futures. We don't have one future, there are possible alternatives, and that was very clear. And among these different, sometimes competing alternatives, we were trying to assess which one is more likely, or these are both possibilities, but it depends on what we do now and here. But the resonance workshop also showed us that futures are also space, country specific. Some things we were thinking in the mid to long term scenarios. Some participants were saying, wait a minute, this is our now. We are already doing this. We are already talking about it. It's already happening. So it was important for us to remember, and this is what we would like to remind you here, is that futures depends where you are, and somebody's future can be somebody's present at the moment. So that was an interesting discussion from the workshop. Now, very quickly, I don't have fancy slides and things because this is a webinar and this is part of now, but it will remain in the future. So I'll start with technology. Technology was an important cross-cutting theme. It offers contradictory opportunities. It can work in positive, but it can also work against. I will be using chat to share my notes because some people like to see the slides, but some people like to read text. This is what I am. So it offers opportunities for no child is left behind. It can adjust the speed. For instance, in learning, it can adjust the speed and the method of each and different individuals on their learning, but it also has an impact on loss of analog skills and being lost in the digital space. A very interesting signal that we like to share is people forgetting or don't know how to, young people don't know how to clean a toilet, just repeating what was happening in a commercial, putting the detergent and flushing, hoping that it cleans, or people forgetting day by day how to sew or how to amend. So analog skills kept appearing and appearing. So this was something that was going around. Climate and environment was always there. And this is a fact, this is happening now, but we anticipate also this will affect youth climate refugees, and it will affect models. For instance, very clear signal that was coming, and we were translating it into the future scenario, was tourism. With the climate change and increased warming, certain popular tourist resorts will become not so popular or not so pleasant anymore. And places like south of England, the English beaches might slowly turn into the Ibiza. So how would it affect the youth population? How would it affect employment? How would it affect choices in travel and leisure? Is there, but climate is and environmental issues were always there. Another cross-cutting theme we found very relevant was values and ethics. Metadata, all this AI and everything, personal data we know, but what about the data being generated, ethical use of AI, and this fridge or yes, the Ibiza beaches are already full of English people, so the English beaches will be full of Spanish people maybe in the future. We will see about that. So values and ethics is an important part. This will have to deal with how we use the technology, how we deal with climate change, how the artificial intelligence, which is very popular these days. But there is definitely an important element of that. Demographic change was very relevant and prominent. And demographics are important to read. A lot of signals on that issue. The generational divide that can have connections in terms of loneliness, but it can have political issues, such as, for instance, this was a good example of different futures, because when the leaders are old, just look at the upcoming US elections, and the majority of the voters are older voters, older demographic, they tend to vote and support policies that might be not to the advantage of young people, such as we heard examples in the Resonance workshop where the budget from youth centers were shifted into elderly care, the cuts in youth workers and transfer of funds to elder care or elderly workers. Yes, Brexit, Liz gave a very good example. The Brexit voter demographic was a case of that as well, while the older demographic voted in favor, more voted in favor of Brexit, while younger demographic voted more in favor of remaining. But it is already happening in some countries, but due to demographic differences, it's there. It's not only a political divide, it has to do with also generational knowledge, heritage. People will get to spend less time with the younger ones, not being able to transfer the culture, not being able to transfer the knowledge. So, for instance, one example was youth work needs to focus and slowly transform into community work, where you need to bring young and old people together. And this has an economic dimension as well, because housing was an important issue. And we were talking about future, but our participants, social work participants from Flanders, were already saying that there were pilot projects happening where young students are located and started living with lonely elder people who can share their housing with. So this was very striking to see. What we see future is also now in some places. Climate migration. So it's not only migration and refugees, but it's also a climate-related migration. Youth work's role will include developing integration models and training in conflict resolution with these new forms of climate migration. Entertainment landscapes, these are changing. So our scenarios are anticipating shifts in travel and tourism and alternatives to travel and tourism, such as augmented reality experiences, shorter travels, or different forms of leisure. And this is something youth work will have to deal with. Politics, democracy, civic participation right, it was very much there, preparing young people for different types of conflicts and ongoing trends. So political literacy and getting ready for civic spaces, but it's also bending the boundaries of time and space because of technology, because as Alex showed, technology was linked with many things. One very strong signal was that you could connect with anybody around the world at any time based on a very specific interest, very specific political issue. So global political participation, global political activism, and global political awareness is a potential scenario, but very focused very specific interest issue there. Education, we of course have several issues about what will happen about education. The schools, the formal education will definitely be under challenge in terms of changing skill landscapes, changing technologies, and diversity of issues, and how to embrace digital platforms and personal dimensions of it. As I said, positively, it can, we forecast that it might work positively for individualized, customized, need-based education for each and different individuals. But on the other hand, youth work might be called in terms of helping the shortcomings of formal education once more. Of course, two other issues I will briefly go over are work and economy and mental health and well-being. These are important now and they will remain important in the future. So one potential scenario and something we discussed in Resonance workshop was, for instance, physical well-being is important. Physical fitness is very important. We have the gyms, but youth work in the future will have to address another need, which is mental fitness, mental resilience, because one very strong signal at the moment is mental health and mental well-being of young people. So this sense of isolation, loss of connections or superficial connections are important. So we are forecasting potential scenarios where youth work will have to deal with that a priori before there is a mental well-being issue. Just like you don't have to wait to get sick to be fit or to take care of your health, the issue comes to also preventive approaches to that regarding mental well-being, mental resilience, and fitness. Henrike, these are all from the report. The report will be shared and published, but feel free to take from the chat. This is a summary of a summary. The report is much more comprehensive and coming. War and conflict is there. They will continue, and the youth work will focus building on cultural intelligence and empathy and this global citizenship. It's becoming closer and closer. And this is, for instance, also linked with a generational gap, because especially in Europe, where this is the focus, majority of the societies lost the personal memory. People who witnessed World War II or conflict passed away, and the younger generations don't have firsthand memories of it. Of course, this is true for Western Europe. We have other countries that experience some form of conflict, but there is also the migrants coming through conflict, and these are all for us to there. So in terms of youth work, I'll finish with this. I just give you a few summary of the scenarios we built, but we are discussing some parts of it in terms of youth work needs to constantly learn, unlearn, and relearn certain things. Just, is it good just because we're doing it this way? Does it mean it's the best way to do it, or do we have to step back, unlearn, and learn again? So there is, it's constant re-innovation, rethinking, and it was important for us to understand that youth work constantly have to keep looking, checking, and reinvent itself and adapt itself. Some ways we are dealing with might not be adequate for some of those. Youth work will play a pivotal role in many of these issues. We'll need to adapt it, provide different supports. For instance, in demographic and intergenerational unity, youth workers might have to slowly transform into community workers, being able to design, implement, evaluate programs that will bring together different generations. So youth centers might transform. One possible scenario is into community centers. Well, in conclusion, the biggest challenge we have is to look beyond present. The present is so loud right in front of us, so bright, so shiny. It's like looking at the tree right in front of you, but there is a whole forest behind it. So we have to keep thinking and shifting our mindset to go beyond now. And that's why it's important. I think one important takeaway is youth work needs to develop future thinking mindset and to be able to look beyond now. Just for fun, I was playing with some language LLM language models, AI as some people call them. And I asked it to create hashtags because these keywords and hashtags are there of our report. So these are what AI thinks are the hashtags and keywords for us to discuss based on our report, some of our scenarios. Feel free to use them. I didn't create them. Even this is an ethical value issue. Who owns the copyright of them? But youth work will remain as an important part of the society. But the question is, will it be called still youth work, or it will be transform itself and needs to keep learning and developing? Thanks for your time, and I tried to answer some of the questions, but this is all I have for the moment to give a taste of it. But as I said, the report is quite longer and extensive.
Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot, Özge. Also complementing what Alex was presenting before. And thanks to AI to do this summary of hashtags. Interesting. It looks almost like bullet points for discussion. We will give the group another time to digest this into the breakout rooms. But a lot of things you've said, I think probably many things needs to be still digested and thought, and particularly in relation to how people see it from their own context. What are the changes that you can see already happening in the Horizon 1, but maybe influencing Horizon 2 and 3? So what changes are already there, already starting, already emerging in youth work? And thanks, Özge, for saying in the end, it's really the question in the end, not about just changing the practices or ways of working, but the big question is there, having seen all these trends and movements, what would be future societal role of youth work and probably how identity of youth work might change. So this is an invitation for you to reflect in the breakout rooms and bring back your comments and questions to the research team. So question for the breakout rooms is, how do you see these scenarios play out in your context? And how do you see youth work already changing in relation to these larger trends? So what are your perspectives? Share with your colleagues. We will be back at 11:35. Enjoy sharing.
We hope you had some interesting conversations. Can you add an emoji as a reaction that kind of represents how was this little sharing for you? That's a little mission for you. Add an emoji that represents a little bit how this conversation, kind of what emotions. Okay, surprising looks, hearts, thumbs up, a lot of surprising looks. Interesting hearts. All right, everybody's joining. A lot of smiles. One cowboy. Somebody's feeling adventurous. All right. Cool. We're going to have now more or less 15 minutes that we can share all together in plenary, let's say, and maybe share some questions to the team if you still have. So we're going to have a bit of moment now with the whole group before we go to the final part and to close. But before that, I'm ready to go out of my way here and make a prediction into the future. And I think we're all going to have to live with the consequences of too much screen time, too much sitting in front of our computers. I think we're all going to have to deal with our bodies later in our lives, having been so many times doing this. For how long are you sitting in front of your screen today? That's a question you can write on the chat. For how long are you sitting looking at your screen since you woke up today? I know it's early, so maybe it's, but not for everyone. 8 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours, sad face, 4.5, 4.5, 4. Look at that. And I'm guessing that many of you still have a lot of hours in front of you to be spent in front of the screen. So before we start the conversation, let's just acknowledge this and just giving everybody the chance to defocus from the screen a bit and try to take your gaze, your eyes to some object that is nearby you, like half a meter in close to you, but focus on that. So it can be, for example, I have my bottle. Just look at that and blink, because that helps your eyes rest a little bit from the screen fatigue. And once you do that, look at something that is maybe a meter away from you. Find something around you that is maybe a meter away. Look at that object away from the screen and blink a few times. And then look maybe 3 meters away. Try to find something that is maybe 3 meters away. Look at that object. Maybe it's the wall or a door or furniture or whatever. Maybe it's a person. And blink a few times. And if you have a window and you can look outside, if you can look further than 3 meters, just try to focus on anything that is as far as you can see. For me, it's this way here. Blink a few times. All right, and we come back to the screen. If you see that your screen has too much contrast, you can maybe dim down a little bit the contrast. Just bring that awareness to our bodies and how we need to also protect them and keep them safe. And I propose one more exercise. This one is very simple. To do it, I just have to change my virtual background. So give me just a second. For this, you just have to sit straight and be with your shoulders straight forward to the screen. Your head, neck, shoulders, everything is aligned. And sit straight with your both feet on the floor, if you can. If you're sitting with crossed legs, fine as well. Just like this, all right? And turn your gaze to the right, and without moving your shoulders. So your chest is still looking forward, but your head goes to the right, and try to see where is the furthest point you can look into. Over your shoulder. Where is the furthest you can go with your neck? And come back to the center, look in front. And now take your left hand and put it like this, shoulder high. Put your right hand on top, right is on top. And now we're going to bring our arms to the left, independently of what you see me doing. I don't know if you see me. Just the chest and the head stay in the front. And we just do this and we repeat. So everybody starts with me in the front. And we're just going to take just the arms to the left. But everything else stays turned in front. Shoulders in front, head in front. Back to center. Make sure your chest is to the front. And take just your arms, not your chest. Yeah, exactly. To the left. Up and again to the left. And once more to the left. Once again to the left. All right. Now we stop. And we try to gaze again to the right and see if you can turn a bit further. All right, you can turn to the front. Did that work a little bit?
Yes.
Did that improve? Okay, so then let's do the other side, okay? Look to the left. Your chest stays turned to the front of your screen. Just your face turns and you fix that point that is your furthest point you can look at, and you come back to the front. Look in front. And now we take our right arm, left arm on top. We're going to stay with our chest and our face turning forward, but our arms go to the side like I'm doing. And back to the front and to the side, to the right side, then to the front and to the right side. Very good. Front, left side, front, right side, sorry. And front again, once again, to the right side. And now we stop, we put our arms down, and we try to do the experiment again. Look to the left, see if you can go a bit further than before. And we come back. All right. It works, somebody says. Very good, I'm happy. It does. Body hack. Very good. Okay, so back to the business. It's a good Macarena. Screen Macarena. I'm going to call it that from now on. Thank you for the tip. All right, so a bit of time to share. Do you have any question to the team? Meanwhile, I'm reading a few of the things you wrote in the Padlet, but is there any question to the team about the report? Let me already say the report will be launched after the Academy. That will be somewhere in the Academy. So that will come. But do you have, you didn't comprehend fully and you want to either write on the bottom menu, you can see your face, we can give you the word, turn on your mic and ask any questions to the team. I'm not sure if Tanya was raising her hand or not. People want to read the reports. This is good.
It was difficult to understand you, Anita.
All right.
Your voice broke up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me better now? I will add the question to the chat. Just to make sure that you hear me, that you can. Yes, okay. I think it's working better now. So any questions to the team? If you, of course, and then comments or reactions as well. But anything that was unclear, just giving a bit of time for people to search in their question box, in their curiosity. Tanya, yes, I had the feeling you were raising your hand. All right.
Yeah, you could see the future minutes ahead of it. Yeah, actually, maybe it was explained and I just missed the point, but I was wondering about these signal spotters for the future, how they were selected, how many there were in the end. I mean, you said how many scans you got, but I understood that one participant could send several throughout a week, so I don't know how many there were. And about the selection criteria, I suppose there was some kind of geographic distribution or something, but I probably explained it and I just missed the point, but that would be my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Hans or Alex, I don't know.
Sorry, that's the button. Yeah, I that's a good point, and we'll make sure to include that in the final report. We released a call, I believe it was in July, and allowed people to sign up throughout August. The call was released through European Academy of Youth Work website and social media, and also we try to approach some communities more directly to get a bit more of a variety of participants. I believe ultimately we had over 80 people, with quite a lot of people sign up. Then we had around, I think, 80 who were active and kind of participated in the onboarding session. And yeah, and then through the signal spotting, we kind of looked at who was participating. In terms of the countries spread, it was throughout Europe. I don't have the exact numbers from each country, but we can definitely think about including that in the final report if you're interested.
Thank you, Alex. Özgehan, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, just my 2 fingers on what Alex just said also. It was also a learning process for us because we started with a higher number and we lost quite a lot on the way. And there's the level of activity for people. Some people were very active, submitting more than one signal, and some people at the end submitted only one signal. So no matter what criteria you set up, as it's on voluntary basis, we can't make them sign a contract saying you are obliged to send 5 or 10 signals during the process. But I mean, I worked with Tanya in the past, and I know she's a very meticulous researcher. So I can also say one thing that was a learning outcome for the team was it's important to keep engaging them. So all these onboarding sessions, midterm sessions, regular emails helped us a lot. And the diversity was very nice. We didn't only have youth workers, we had teachers, some people in business joining in. But the interviews, we didn't speak much about interviews, but expert interviews also helped a lot to check once again and to come back with more expert point of view. We didn't go in details, but we will share them later on.
Thank you. We have at least 3 more questions. I'm being mindful about the time, so I'm going to kindly ask everyone to also be mindful and try to summarize their questions and their answers so we can try to have as many questions as possible. I think it's Fergal's question now.
Yeah, just very quickly, I'm wondering if the report might contain something that contextualizes what the future means, because when I woke this morning, the future was now, and the future is tomorrow, and the next day, and so on. And when we often talk about future, we think long, long, long term. So maybe there's something might be useful in terms of the conversation around youth work, if that is contextualized, what that might mean. I know it's not entirely possible, but it may be a useful guide to have something in that and help frame what, when we talk about the future, what it looks like.
Thank you, Fergal. Any reaction from the team? Anything that you want to add to this, Alex?
Yeah, I completely agree and echo that, and certainly we will that will be included in our report. We are preparing kind of a big framework that will introduce the whole report, what we mean by talking about the future of youth work, and some suggestions on how the report might be useful for people as well in terms of thinking about the future. So yeah, absolutely, it is a big part of it, and we'll explore that further also in the academy.
Thank you. Snejana?
Thank you, Anita. Thank you, guys. I just wanted to say, I mean, bravo. This is really impressive, a piece of work and not so easy to handle process, as I can imagine. My question was also how representative is the sample, you know, so as I understand it, this is the step 1 into unknown territory, right? So maybe in this regard, it would be good to keep the lenses and minds open. I'm also aware of the fact that we have the policymakers, you know, the partnership commission and so on, different stakeholders on board also during this session. So is the research or the report going to provide any recommendations or, you know, guidelines what to do? Because very recently we have finally put the youth work on the agenda. Now we need to reconstruct it. I mean, obviously the changes are happening much faster than the system can react, right, and address it. So thanks.
Partially, if I may, but one partial answer to that and a question that was in the chat was about applicability. The previous bigger forecasting or horizon scanning exercises that Alex was part, and most of us know Professor Gary Pollock, who was part of it, were focusing more on mega scenarios that it was also presented in different events. And it was a decision, deliberate decision on our side to develop more micro scenarios and more in number and much less in coverage, when you read the report, and we hope this would increase the applicability for different realities, because mega scenarios are harder to apply and fit, but micro scenarios, if not one, some might be more suitable for that reality. But there, as I said, the resonance showed us that we also have to factor in the local realities. Somebody's future is already happening in somewhere else. So this micro scenario building was our response to applicability. In terms of representativeness, this was not a name from the very beginning, because we could not have, we don't have a pool of universe of signal spotters. Anybody and everybody can be a signal spotter. But we were doing some reality check when we were reading the signals, because some of them were extremely weird, and some were very, very local sensitive. So it took some effort on our side. And that's why we organized the resonance workshop. We are organizing this webinar, and we will not finish the work by the time of academy, because at the end, we also have to have auto-reflexive positioning, saying, are we reading our desires through these signals? Because it's a little bit subjective and it's a little bit interpretive approach, which is painful for me as a quantitative researcher, but I am learning. But this is why we keep checking and coming back, checking and coming back, and maybe we will not get the fact, and we are not fortune tellers, but we might agree on, a more intersubjective point of view. And especially hearing examples and cases here and there, sometimes contradictory as well, is also our triangulation. But we agreed on that some signals are contradictory in nature. And this is, I don't know if Alex wants to pick up on that, but we welcomed it, because the reality, the social reality is also contradictory. There are different forces pushing in different directions. So this is something we're addressing as well. And thanks for the comment. And that's why we were chatting. Also, the Padlets keep coming. So this will continue. And in terms of recommendations, we will leave it to the practice and policy. So if there is evidence, this is the evidence part in a way, or stimulating part, but policy making and practice making will be up to the practitioners and policy makers. And I already know some signal spotters are organizing events in their own local reality, taking the scenarios, building their local scenarios, for instance. So that was also very interesting, and repeating the process at a very local level, because space and locality matters.
Thank you. We have one last question, very short. We have like 2 minutes. Moritz?
I have totally the wrong topic for that, but anyway, no, like I'm very much interested in the kind of the economic side of things, because that's kind of the big element that enables all the utopian futures that we want to work on. So my question is, like, in how far there will be, like, the recommendations, etc., will go in the line of, like, I don't know, because we're talking in a European framework here, like lobbying, Erasmus Plus, etc., like the new funding programs that are being developed, how to get them to better fund youth workers. Will this be like the economic side of considerations and of your research? Will that play a role in the recommendations, etc.? And will there be kind of tangible outcomes, or like things that people can promote, causes that, things that, folks can promote in their daily life and in other processes where we can use that data.
Thank you, Moritz. Tim, who wants to react? Giselle?
Yeah, maybe I can say, I will not answer totally your question, Moritz, because simply I don't think we can. And I also think it's important to say that in the report that will be presented at the Academy, at least at that stage of the process, because as Özge said, it's not going to be the end. We can present possible scenarios, but recommendations as such are to be owned and developed by those who will use the report. It's also a question of ownership and belonging of the process, in the process. So I think it's you're absolutely right about the importance of that dimension, but at least I wanted to underline the fact that for me, if we want the community or the communities to be active in implementing and using the report for what they need and for what they foresee, I think this applicability, including in relation to economic, has to be taken, has to be in the hands of those who will use the report. It's not up to the research team, I think, to develop recommendations as such.
Thank you, Giselle. We are on our last minutes of this webinar. Thank you for sharing your questions. Thank you for what you added to the Padlet, and please go to that link if you want to read more. There's still things coming up. There will be an email following up as well, where you will get that link again, and all the resources shared here. But I'll pass the screen to Darko to close the webinar with us.
Thanks. Thanks a lot, Anita. Thanks a lot, everyone joining us today. So more than 100 people at one moment. Thanks a lot to the research team for sharing the first insights. I'm sure you made people even more curious about to hear more, and looking forward to the developed more elaborated version in the report and in the academy. And for sure, maybe the research will not give all the answers about how futures of youth work or even youth works might look like in all parts of Europe or world. But nevertheless, I think that it will be a big contribution to start thinking as a community how to get better future ready. What's the future we would like to create? What's the future maybe we need to accept? What's the future we would like to perhaps influence? And this was definitely one of the big learnings of the Resonance workshop, at least for me, that when we speak about future, we probably speak about different types of future and how you feel about it, and what's the sense of agency, what's the sense of control we have, what's the sense of desire that we have, also ideologically, how to see futures, etc., etc. So future topic is not bias free. It's not a neutral topic. We are aware of that, but nevertheless, we hope it's the right time to start thinking. And we hope to see also some practical steps taken by the community, by the stakeholders, also by the future programs. Why not? Maybe even at this stage for getting ready for further future. Nevertheless, as Anita said in the beginning, there will be a second webinar on 18th of March, the same time, 10 to 12 CET, that will focus mostly on the future's exploration mindsets as something we need to develop anyways, even if we don't know exactly how the pictures of youth work might look like, but future mindset or future thinking mindset is something that we can start developing even today. After the Academy event, there will be also the third webinar, but the announcement for that will come later. For people who are curious, the webinars are still part of Erasmus Plus funding, and you are entitled also to get Youth Pass for that. And interested people should contact Sonia for this, and that will be distributed and produced in the end of the series of webinars. So we'll just need to indicate which webinars did you attend out of the 3. And last 2 more points, as we promised already, I think Mireille was taking a lot of graphic notes, so you might expect some nice graphical summary. Maybe not all text that you have heard today, but graphically some key points said by the research team or by you in the beautiful poster that Mireille will develop after this webinar. And finally, before we close, we have a mini evaluation moment on Mentimeter. It takes probably 3 minutes to do it. So thanks, Sabrina, for sharing the link. The link is in the chat. So please leave your comment. How was this webinar for you? And what possibly we can improve for the next one. So with those lines, we would like to thank you for being here. And the moment you finish the Menti, you are free to go to other things that you have in a day. And in the background, Sabrina will probably play some nice music. So thank you a lot for joining us in the first webinar of 2024.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day. I'm looking much to your screens.